Okay, Mastermind with Neil Schwartz. Our special guest today is Rebecca Gilbert. Rebecca, glad you're here. Very, very exciting. We're streaming on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. And if we get any questions, Robert will be able to ask us those. If you guys have any questions of Rebecca as we go along here, let us know, or we'll take some time toward the end. Rebecca, let's see, they shifted the screen. Now I can't see you. Okay, there you are. So there you are. So Rebecca, so first of all, welcome. It's very exciting to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. You're a busy lady. You have you have your own business, and you're also a coach for the Mike Ferry organization, correct?
Yes, sir.
You bet. That's great. Spend a lot of time with that. So let me ask you, could you give me kind of just a simple Reader's Digest version of how long in the business, what area you sell in, kind of what price points, maybe some of the sources of business, some of the highlights, maybe a little bit when we get started?
Yep. So I actually got started in South Carolina. I started selling real estate there right after I graduated from college. I got an internship at a real estate office, and then saw how well you could do in real estate. So very shortly after graduating from college, I got my license and sold real estate there. I was there for 4 years, and then I decided I wanted to go to a bigger market. So actually, Mike Ferry helped me and my coach, Ira Nadich at the time, to move to Texas. So
wow.
So I moved to Dallas, Fort Worth in 2017, right at the tail end of 2017. So then really my first, this will be my second full year of being in Texas. And the goal was to close 65 homes this year. And I'm on track to definitely do that, probably do more. I'm at, 63 closed and pending so far.
And we still have 4 or 5 months left.
Yep.
4 months left. Good for you. Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So 2 years ago, you left North Carolina or South Carolina. Carolina. Myrtle Beach?
Yep.
Oh, so you were working in the market where Greg Harrelson is.
Greg Harrelson. Yep.
Got it. Excellent. So did you work with Greg at the time or no?
I did not. No, I was actually at Berkshire Hathaway at a company there with some other Mike Ferry agents, but not at Greg Harrelson's.
Great. So you worked there for how long in the Myrtle Beach area?
I was there for about 4 years.
All right. And during that 4 years, you built up to about how much per year business?
So that last year, it's actually funny. I was just looking at the numbers. That last year before I left, my goal was to do 70. And I ended up closing 63 because I left in like end of October, November. And then right now, today, I'm at closed and pending 63, which is interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Kind of where I'm going with this, because it's interesting. So many of our real estate agents in the country, get started in one market and then they struggle. They get 10 deals, 15, 20, maybe they get to 25 or 30, and they plateau. So you actually did this twice in 2 different segments of the country so far. And you're a young person, so I'm thinking maybe you should move out here to Beverly Hills or Orange County with us. We could do this again, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think
Rebecca, when do you plan on moving?
Never, actually.
Never. Okay.
Forever home in Texas.
All right, there you go. But tell us the mindset. So I get it. I get the first time going to work, and I think I get it. Getting in 4 years from going really from ground zero to 60 transactions is a pretty decent feat. And then to walk away from that, far away from that, to go to Texas and then kind of do it again. So tell me what's going on in your mindset. What's happening there?
So when I was in Myrtle, I went to college there. I actually moved from Ohio. And I transferred down to Coastal Carolina University in South Carolina. Finished out school, and then I was supposed to move, right? The plan was just to be there for school and then move. And then this internship happened, and then real estate happened, and then business started getting really good to where it was like, oh, do I move? Do I have to start over? The thought kept coming to my mind, though, that I didn't want to be in Myrtle Beach forever. You know, it's a touristy type town. It's a smaller market. It didn't feel like home.
I'm sorry,
and so I kept telling myself, you know, do I just keep doing what I'm doing and build up this business, or do I take the plunge, move somewhere else, and then start over? And so then I worked through it with Ira and with Mike Ferry, actually. And I was looking at like 5 different places to move. And so I looked at the pros and cons of each place, and Mike Ferry said, you need to move to Texas. I said, all right, boss. Well, I'm going to go ahead and check it out then. So Mike Bowman, you've heard of Century 21, Mike Bowman.
Of course.
So that's the office I'm at. They ended up flying me out here. I shadowed them, fell in love. Truthfully, Texas wasn't even on my list. It was on Mike's list, Mike Ferry's list.
Interesting.
And then I got here and I saw the potential. I looked at the economy. You know, I looked at the cost of living, the easeability for me to get into the market. You know, it's very similar as far as, you know, values, the way of talk, the way of living, that kind of stuff as the South Carolina. So I just worked through it. And then I told Ira, I was like, all right, I'm going to move. And he says, when? And I said, next year sometime. And he says, why next year? It sounds to me like you've made the decision. And I said, yeah, it's scary, Ira. That's why. And so he actually helped me to set a specific date. He said, you've already decided you need to move as fast as possible. I'm like, why? Why as fast as possible? He says, because you're already checked out. If your mind's in Texas, how good of service and customer service are you going to do to your business and your clients here? You've made the decision. You need to go fast. So I made the decision probably mid-September. It was my second trip to Texas. I said, all right, I'm going to do it. And he said, when? And I said, all right, November, let's do this. So I know some other people that have moved markets. They've kind of worked their business in the past market while also transitioning to the new market. Ira and I worked through it, and we made the decision to just completely button up that business, move to Texas, focus wholeheartedly on Texas. And then I just set up that business with somebody else that I sent all my referrals to for a hefty, you know, referral, to where it still made sense. And I worked it out with my broker to where they were, you know, they still allowed me to make the money that I already had pending. So just kind of worked it in and then just moved and never looked back.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Absolutely. And so you were able to transfer the skills
Yes.
From one market to the other. That happened kind of without a beat, without missing a beat?
Say without a beat. So, you know, one of the best things I ever did is I kept my coach, like no questions asked. Some people will try to take a break when they move a market. Keep your coach 1000%. I kept all of my other activities in the schedule. So even though I took all of November off as far as real estate goes, of producing and making calls, I still role played. I still was in my mastermind. I still was doing my accountability for other types of things. So I very much stayed within my schedule, right? And then I did some fun stuff. I went on a mission trip and took my time, you know, moving to Texas, but I kept the schedule the same. And then I got to Texas and it took longer to get my license than I anticipated. Mike and Dave wouldn't let me make phone calls. I tried to talk them into it. So, but I still kept the same, you know, the same schedule even without that. So I'd go preview and I'd go, you know, I'd research the market. I'd research the numbers. I tried to do as much as I could with what I could, right? It took some time though. And I had some really powerful people helping me. Valerie Caro was mentoring me. Michael Young, I've had multiple conversations with him. Bernie Gallerini. And there were times, I mean, you're like, I know what I'm doing and I have all the skills and I'm putting in all the time. This was once I got my license. And I'll never forget 2 things. Bernie Gallerini, he said, are you doing everything you're supposed to be doing? And I said, yes, I'm making the calls. I'm role playing. I'm intensely role playing. I'm practicing. I'm studying the market. He's like, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. He says, then trust it. The results will come. And, you know, I mean, it took about a month and a half to get my first listing. And then then slowly but surely you start to get some other things. Within 6 months, I had started to create some momentum. And then really by the end of the year, you start seeing my numbers like really take off.
That's
and now,
fantastic.
yeah. So, and then the other thing that Mike told me, he says, time takes time, Rebecca. Trust the process. Because it was tough. You know, I mean, you know what's interesting though, is as soon as I made the decision to move and I was here, I never regretted it. There was no like unwavering, shouldn't have done this. I mean, I was all in. It was just the struggle of beating your head against the wall and not seeing results, especially since you already did that once before. Like, I didn't think I'd have to do this again.
So that's what I want to talk about, okay? Because it's that thing right there that crushes some other agents. You questioned it, you brought it up, but it didn't take you out. You stayed in the game. So was it things you read? Is it your background? Is it your support group? Is it the drugs you take? What makes a difference?
Well, first off, I'm expressive.
I didn't notice. I hadn't noticed.
So typically we make decisions, we make them fast, and you usually don't look back and never regret them, right?
Right.
Part of it. But the other part was exactly what I said before, right? I was in the masterminds. I had some powerful people helping me through it. I had a great brokerage that I relied heavily on, right? I mean, I was still doing all of the action steps to where I'd get in my head a little bit, right? But I didn't have enough time to get in my head. It was like, I just got to do my job. Even though, and I was setting appointments like crazy. My listings taken ratio went from 80% in South Carolina. I mean, at one time, this is embarrassing. It was down to like 40%.
Yeah.
Worked it up to 50%, and now I'm up at 75 again.
Yeah. These moves always take a toll on your ego.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You know what else it did though? So it took a toll on my ego. However, it forced me so far outside of my comfort zone. I took some expires and cancels and FSBOs back in Myrtle. But I mean, I worked my old professors at my college. I worked my database. I worked people I knew. I was in the service industry forever. So I was very heavily centers of influence past clients, right? When I moved here, more than half of my business is expireds, cancels, and for sale by owners.
That's great. Fantastic. And you didn't have any past client in Sphere to speak of when you came to Texas.
I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
The only people I knew were people at this office.
Saying you've been here in Texas 2 years now?
Let's see. So it'll be about 2.5 years.
Okay. And so what have you done to build your database there? How big is it?
3 years. I'm at about 300 people.
Okay. And what did you do to build it to 300 people?
You know, it's interesting you bring that up because I was just looking at my database. I was calling through some center of influence and past clients earlier. And what's so nice, when I first got here, Ira and I worked very heavily on adding people to my database. So my goal was to add at least 30 people every month to my database. And so I'd go to networking events. I'd go to, my gym, really anywhere and everywhere, at a restaurant. If I was having dinner, sitting at at a restaurant, wherever I was, I had it in my mind that I was, working to add these people to my database.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. So you did that one person at a time, basically.
Exactly. So I think it was being intentional and setting the goal of, hey, I need to add 30 people to my database, and I know Ira's going to check up on me, so I really need to do this. And so it just, the reason I bring up, I was looking at it today, is I could see how much more intentional I was when I first moved here compared to what I am now.
Oh, so that the rate slowed down?
It reminded me that I need to get back to the basics.
Sure. Got it. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So let me ask you a question. Your goal for this year was originally what?
65 closed.
65 closed.
Yeah.
So COVID didn't slow you down, did it?
No, so when COVID hit, it was scary because I'll share a little story with you. So right before COVID, so I met my husband here in Texas. So we'll back up a little bit. So 2 weeks after I moved here, I met Jeremiah. We got engaged like 6 months later. We got married. So
Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's another way that I've added people to my database is through Jeremiah.
Big family, right?
I sold his brother a house and, a couple of his friends. Yeah. But the reason I bring that up is ever since the day we met, he talked about his dreams. I've talked about my dreams, right? And so one of his dreams was to pursue professional golf. Sounds like a pipe dream, right? But he's actually really, really good. And so we put the plan into place. And right before COVID, he quit his job.
Wow.
Right? Quit his job, supported him full force. We put him into Corn Ferry events and, the APT events, all these different events. He went on one, did really well, and then the rest got canceled. So now he's not working, right? It's all on me. And COVID hits, and everyone starts talking about how are we going to do appraisals, how are we going to do inspections. I mean, Sure. I've got all these pendings, which is all great and grand. How are we going to get them to the closing table? There was a lot of uncertainty. So I'll never forget, actually. I went home and I looked at my husband. I said, I got to be honest, I'm scared to death because this is all on me now. And so we went for a drive, felt like zombie land because nobody was out. And it's like gloomy in Texas, right? So we're like, this is just crazy. And I honestly started tearing up. I said, usually I'm really good under pressure. This is a lot of pressure. And he looked at me and he says, you're an eagle. Since the day I met you, you're an eagle. It's going to make me tear up now. And he says, right now, you're being a parakeet. I was like, what? I'm not a parakeet, right? And he says, you figure it out. And he goes, not only do you have clients that count on you to be an eagle, you have coaching clients now that count on you. You have to be strong. And so I cried it out for a minute and I was like, you know what? I am an eagle and I'm going to figure this out. And it was that one conversation. And since then, I've had my personal best months ever in real estate.
Congratulations. Wow, what a great story. Absolutely inspiring. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. So the balance of this year, where's it going to take you? Because you certainly have an opportunity to more than crush it.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Okay. So Miss Eagle, what are you going to do different, if anything?
Well, I am going to close at least 75 deals. So I need to commit to Tony that the goal, Tony Smith is now my coach. The goal is going up. Another thing that's really helped me, and maybe this will help these people, Mike always talks about, don't compare yourself to other people, right? I mean, I'm a little over 7 years in the business. When I first got in, I thought I'd be at 100 plus deals, right? The way things starting in new markets, it is what it is. I'm where I'm at. Don't compare yourself to other people. So at these retreats and things that Mike has done, he always talks about what's your best month, right? As far as listings, what's your best sales month? What's your best closings? What's the most you've ever earned in a month? And I started thinking, I was like, I love numbers and I don't know those numbers, right? And so this year, what I did recently, and I'm looking at it right now, I printed off my personal bests in real estate. And so instead of ever comparing to others, I'm in a competition with myself. So I have all my personal bests, and I promise you between that and then putting my goals on my bathroom mirror, on the refrigerator, on my computer, I'm looking at them right now, between putting the goals in front of me and knowing what my personal bests are and what I'm capable of, that has driven me so much this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Rebecca, what's your superpower? If you had to name something, what would it be?
All right. So I had this conversation. I'm going to bring him up again, my husband. And I said, if you had a superhero or a superpower, what would it be? And I said, so if you had to name one superpower for me, what would it be? Because the way I look at it, your biggest superpower is how other people perceive you.
Okay.
Right. And so he said, grace. Grace is your superpower. So when I thought about that, I said, that would be my superpower. He says, yeah, I mean, you're kind and you genuinely care about people, and you honestly probably give grace in certain situations. You might, you may not need to. So the way I converted that to real estate is my superpower in real estate is I actually care about my clients, right? And so if you can come across that way in your conversations while you're prospecting, when you're going to set appointments, when you're at the appointment signing for the contract, if you can come across that I genuinely care about you and your goals, that's your superpower. You're in, right? If people trust you and believe you, then I personally think that's my superpower.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So let me shift gears with you just slightly. So what does Rebecca pour into her head? What does she read? What YouTube videos? Because this is not standard operating procedures, okay? People don't shift in 7 years to markets and do well in both, okay? They just don't, okay?
From here.
Sorry?
I said, and it's only up from here.
Oh yeah. Oh, totally. This is the floor. Okay, yeah. We're at the floor right now. No, I get that. Clearly I get that. All right. So what is it, because I'm sure there's days that you don't feel like doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you'd like to cut a corner maybe and not make that extra contact today before you go home, and whatever it is, the routine, because that's just human nature. All right. What do you do to stay in the game?
Great question. It's a multitude of things, and it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it's one of the best books that I've read recently is called Atomic Habits. And he talks about it's 1% better every day. So, a lot of new agents, they get in the business and they see these people that are doing incredible things. I mean, I was one of them sitting in the, audience watching the Valerie Caros, the Neil Weicherts, the, Ed Kaminski's, the Michael Youngs, the Bernie Gallerinis. And you're like, mind blowing. I want to be them right now. And it just doesn't happen. So you have to trust the process, like Mike Ferry told me, and then put in the actions every day. And then one of the best quotes I heard is, every day looks the same, right? But when I look back, everything's different.
Interesting.
So keep in mind that it's not going to just happen overnight. With that being said, books. Atomic Habits was a really good one. A really funny, entertaining, good, motivating book was by Kevin Hart, The Decision. In fact, one of my clients actually recommended it to me, Angela from Florida. That was hilarious and fantastic. But I at least read 2 books a month. One with my mastermind. We hold each other accountable. We do a book together. And then I always try to do some type of finance book. The one I'm reading right now is called Prosperity Consciousness. That was recommended to me, which is fantastic. So I'm always at least reading, listening to at least 2 books a month. And you can do that while you're driving. You can do it at home, actually reading the book. Easy stuff. I keep Mike Ferry in front of me all the time. Read every email that comes through. Watch every video that comes through. The Monday Motivation. Read it and share it. What I find is when I share the motivation with other people, or I share messages with other people, it gets me excited, and energetic as well. But every day you're not going to be super motivated. It's just like you said, the key is if you can create those habits, then on the days you don't feel like it, it's like clockwork. You're just like a robot. You just go in and you do your job.
That's your job. Doesn't matter. Job. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Great advice.
The other thing is too, connecting the dots. I heard that at one of the retreats. I couldn't tell you who said it. Connect the dots. So I don't feel like prospecting right now, but I've got my goals in front of me, like we talked about. I've got my husband's dreams that I feel personally, I want to support. So it reminds me that why I'm making these conversations and making these calls is for the big goal, helping people, making money, financial freedom, investments, doing extraordinary things, taking extraordinary trips. You got to keep it in front of you as to why you're doing what you're doing.
Very cool. Very, very cool. You open to a couple questions?
Of course.
All right. Fantastic. So unmute yourselves. Questions for Rebecca. Questions for Rebecca. Who's got one? Can't see everybody.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Hi,
Frank.
Rebecca. Hi. So what time do you wake up and what time do you go to bed?
That's a great question. I wake up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I go to bed at between 9:30 and 10:30.
Okay. So do you wake up at 4 a.m. So do you have a routine on what you do?
I do.
Like how do you start your days?
Great question. I wake up 4 a.m. I go and send my goals and gratitude to my accountability group. Something quick, takes me 5 minutes of just set my mind straight. I do my devotional. So I read for about 15, 20 minutes, spend some time with the big man upstairs. And then right now, actually, because I am a coach with Mike Ferry, our homework with them is to do the 90 days with Mike. If you guys have not done the 90 days with Mike, it's incredible. I've been in the Mike Ferry coaching for a long time and I never did it before until now. It's fantastic. It's like 5 or 10 minutes. I do it on my drive to my workout. And then I work out at 5 a.m. And then I role play at 7:15. And then I start prospecting between like 7:45 is when I start.
How long do you prospect for?
So with coaching, it's a little bit different, but at least 2.5 hours a day, typically 3.5 hours.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Good questions, buddy. All right. Other questions for Rebecca?
Hello, Rebecca. I got a question. Can I ask
Hi
you?
there.
Go ahead, Michael.
Hi. So have you ever deviated from your day? So it's 4 o'clock. That's a very rigid morning routine. It's from 4 o'clock all the way. Like, do you ever deviate from your schedule? And if you do, how do you bounce back from it? And yeah, so those days.
Yeah, that's a great question. So just keep in mind, again, this didn't happen overnight. I mean, before it was, I started getting up at 6:30 out of college, right? And then it was 6 a.m. And then it was slowly but surely. And you have to remember, Mike always tells us, your schedule has to support your goals. So my schedule supports my goals. And I have such hefty goals that I have to get up at that time, because here's the kicker is I get up at 4, I work extremely hard and efficiently during the day. And then my other big goal is most days I'm home by 4:30 to spend the afternoon and the evening with my husband, So for me personally, it works. Do I deviate from it? Once in a while, not very often. Like this week, we did well. So we've got a trip coming up on Thursday and Friday. We'll be out of town as part of the schedule. But other than that, I mean, unless it's scheduled, I'm up at 4 a.m.
I love it.
All right. Good. Great question. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay. Other questions for Rebecca, please.
Yes, Rebecca.
Go ahead,
I want to know
James.
that how many people you are talking to every day?
Yeah, good question. Between 20 and 30 people.
And that is expired client, or that's your database, or your past client mostly you're talking to?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I always start with new expireds. We still have some that come up in our market, not a ton. So that usually only takes about 30 minutes. I start with new expireds and FSBOs, and then it's whatever I'm working on, right? So maybe this week it's centers of influence past clients. I'm more of a block type person versus some people call center of influence every day, a couple people. Me personally, it's new expireds, new FSBOs, and then whatever I'm working on. So just
And
list old,
yeah.
could be centers of influence, past clients, or it could be old expireds, old FSBOs. And then
Yes, that's
right
great.
after prospecting is lead follow-up.
I just know that you say you're get a 30 date for per weekly. How you get that clients put the data to talk to people?
How do I
to
find
get
that many numbers to call?
Yes, number, yes, 30.
Yes, so I use Arch Agent, and I actually just got involved with Vulcan. So it's a database to be able to pull up the numbers, but I'm in a huge market, right? And I personally think that if you're willing to look for them, there's plenty of people to talk to, right? I mean, there's tons of neighborhoods you can call around. You can pull the old expireds. I mean, think about it. Maybe in your market, I know California, you don't have many expireds, but what about a year ago, 2 years ago? You just have to get intentional with who you're calling and set it up the day before. That way you're not getting into your prospecting session and trying to figure out who you're going to call. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. Okay, good job. Excellent. Who else has a question for Rebecca?
I have a question.
Go ahead,
How do you-
Karen.
Thanks, Rebecca. How do you
Yep.
delegate all of this volume that you're working with? Like, how does that go with your listings, and are you doing any buyers at all?
That's a great question. Yeah, so I have a full-time assistant. And in fact, okay, let me be clear on this. So I personally, my goal is to do the 65 transactions. I do have a business partner. She's also a, lead agent as well. So together we'll do about 120 deals. All right. With Karina is our full-time assistant. And then we just hired on another assistant. And so over time, I've gotten really good at delegating essentially anything and everything I can. Outside of me prospecting and, taking listings and going on appointments, buyers, unless it's like my sellers buying a Mike Ferry referral, which by the way, a lot of people from California are moving to Texas, so send them over here. But Mike Ferry referrals, if they're highly qualified buyers, but for the most part, I'll refer it out.
Okay, good
Thank you.
stuff. Karen, thank you. All right, other questions for Rebecca, please. Go ahead, Yvonne.
Hi, Rebecca. I realize your personality is expressive. Did you have hard time be on time and do the number analyzer, track your number?
On
How
time?
did you improve that?
Yeah, so when I first got into real estate, 1000%. My first coach helped me tremendously on time and being on time.
Uh-huh.
A couple pointers on that: set yourself alarms. So if you tell yourself you need to be out of the office to get to somewhere, set an alarm for as soon as you need to walk out the door, right?
Okay.
Really force yourself into getting in the habit. Now I'm always 15 minutes early, right, to any listing appointment. So I've created the habit. Yes, I had to work on that though.
Okay. How
And
about
then-
track numbers?
Track numbers. What's funny is actually I love numbers. And getting into it, I don't know if I appreciated them as much. Over time, though, when I started to realize if I know the numbers and if I get obsessed with the numbers, how much it can do for my business. So you can see I have my numbers all in front of me, where I'm going, what my plan is, my personal best. I've just become like so obsessed. I don't know if you can see all my boards and stuff, but I have like all my pending boards and, everything there. Here's the reality. You got to get obsessed with the numbers. Because if you know your numbers, you got to know where you're at, where you're going, how much it's going to take for you to get there.
That make total sense. Thank you so much.
And one thing, get in the habit of doing your numbers every day, right? So every day you go to clock out, right? And it's time to go home and spend time with your family or whatever it is. Write your schedule for the next day, right? Write your schedule. Figure out who you're going to call, whether that's your assistant giving you the numbers or you need to get the numbers. Figure out who you're going to call and then go into your numbers analyzer and update your numbers. If you can get in that habit, that's going to help you a lot.
Thank you so much.
All right, good job, Yvonne. Thanks, Rebecca. Good stuff. Other questions for Rebecca? Somebody had their hand up
Can
earlier.
I have one more, please?
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so another question I was going to ask Rebecca is how do you do the lead follow-up? What's your routine on that?
Right after I get done with prospecting, I call right away.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Mike tells us to do the 3x5 cards. I do it more digitally. I do the same thing. I have my acquired date. I have my throw out date, right, as to when I plan to throw them out. And then I'm just following up with them at least every day. You know, it depends on our conversation, but I'm aggressive with it. And I think it was Angel out of California. He said this at one of the retreats, is if he can't get in touch with somebody, he'll double dial them. So you call them, hang up, call them again. Because what happens? Now they think something's wrong. So they're going to pick up, right? If they don't pick up, then I text them and say, hi, this is Rebecca, Century 21. Sorry I missed you. When's a better time that we can talk? So get aggressive with the ways that you're trying to reach out to these people. And don't be afraid to call multiple times a day.
So you would say for a new lead coming in, you will call twice, double call a day, and then you would do that how many days in a row?
So it just depends. And I'm talking more like if I'm calling it expired or canceled, what I'll do is if I'm on my dialer and I can't reach them, I actually print out the lead and then I put it in a notebook and I bring that notebook with me everywhere I go and I'm calling them a couple times a day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
For the ones that I really want to chase. If they're, you know, nice price points, you've got to create your own standard. Just call them off the hook. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, what's the worst that can happen?
It can't hurt you.
Yeah,
They can make you a lot of money.
Exactly.
Yeah, gotta be very aggressive on that.
Hey, so Rebecca, let me ask you something here. Is there a particular objection handler or something that when the situation comes up, when you handle it with this way, it happens for you? Is there anything like that? I
actually thought a lot about this. And you know, it's interesting. I think people get so hung up on what to say to handle an objection. Most of the time, you don't even have to handle it, right? I mean, most of the time, you just repeat what they say, level with them. So let's say, for instance, someone says, you know what, you're the 10 millionth agent that's called. We're just not going to do anything right now. No, I get it. Yeah, listen, if I was in your shoes, I'd be pretty frustrated. You know, let me level with you. I'm just calling because I noticed it came off the market. Go right back into the script. The key to objections is don't let it rattle you, right? So you got to just realize that these are people on the other end. And if you were an expired and people were calling you off the hook, you'd be pretty upset as well, right? So level with them, let them know that you care. And most of the time, you know, you can close for the appointment. But I just wanted to say that just as far as most of the time, you don't even have to handle it, right? It's just a question, just move right past it. Jeff Leslie said this, he said, listen to what they're saying, but don't really listen. It's like Mike says, you're in a shoe store. What do you tell people when the salesperson comes up to you? Oh, no, I'm good, right? You walk away and then the salesperson comes up, hey, are you good? You need any help? No, I'm good. Reflex no. And then when you need help, or if that salesperson says the right thing, hey, I noticed by what you're looking at, these pair of shoes, right? And now you start to open up to them. It's the same with real estate. Reflex no, listen to it, but don't really listen. Move on to the next question and then close. But the one that works for me a lot is I'll tell people, you know, let's say at a listing appointment, and they're like, well, this other agent, you know, said that they could get me this much. Let me ask you something. You want the truth, right? Of course you do. I'm going to tell you the truth, even if it's not what you want to hear. And that's what you want, right? Is somebody that's going to tell you the truth, even if it's not all rainbows and butterflies. All right. I'm that agent. And based on the market, your home, I'm going to recommend we price it at blah, blah, blah. But you can take that line, the whole truth to so many different things.
Mm.
You know, so for instance, if somebody's an expired, right, and they were on the market for a long period of time, and you know, we don't know why it sold, blah, blah, blah. You want the truth, right? There was a reason why your home didn't sell. If I could tell you what that reason was and we could get it sold, would you consider meeting with me for a few minutes? So I know that was a long answer, but the truth of the matter is just level with people. Just remember you're having conversations with them. Put yourselves in their shoes. Don't get so hung up on the words of what you're saying. Just, you know, just genuinely care about people, and then you can figure out how to get in the door.
That's great. Excellent. Excellent. Fantastic. Rebecca, this has been absolutely fabulous. Great information. Please unmute yourselves and let's give her a giant hand. Woohoo! Hey!
Thank you.
Fantastic. Very, very, very cool. Very cool. Very nice, Rebecca. Great stuff. Amazing stuff. I mean, to move to markets, and I agree with you. I think you have nothing but up, nothing but blue sky ahead of you. Good job.
I was honored that you asked me, so thank you.
Well, it's a win-win for both of us. Thank you. So right now, what we do is I'll ask the group a few questions about what they learned today. You're welcome to stay if you're busy and need to move on. I know we talked about you having a hard stop about 1 o'clock. So either way is fine with us, but we're going to take a few minutes and just ask what they learned. So again, thank you, Rebecca. It's fantastic. Good work.
Thank you.
Okay, so what did we learn today, everybody?
I got one.
Go, who said that?
Albert.
Albert, please.
Okay.
Albert,
I got a couple of things.
Take that picture down. I want to see that movie star picture. I want to see your smiling face.
Come on. You're putting me to work here now. All right. Well, it's bad lighting. Good for me. All right. So I got a couple of things.
You really have your screen
no,
is this great picture of you.
No,
you look like Al Pacino, man.
You're putting me to work here now.
All right, go ahead. Sorry, Albert.
So I got a couple, quite a few things actually. So thank you, Rebecca, for sharing all the knowledge. But things that really hit me was trust the process and just do the actions on a daily basis. And the other one is create the habits. So when you're feeling down, it's going to be an automatic. So you're not going to have to think about it. You're just going to be an auto. So you just go with the flow.
Great thoughts. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, what else? Josie, go ahead. Oh, Josie, did you have something or no? No.
I got one.
Go ahead, Delroy.
You know, I like when she said in the beginning, going to Mike Ferry's events and see all these top producing agents, and you know there were all these numbers. You know, I think she said, when will that be me? And you know, I can relate. You know, but she said something really important. She said you got to trust the process. It does not happen overnight, and I think that was wonderful for her to say.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, Vaughn, go ahead.
Two things. Number one, she is such a sweet lady and she genuinely care about her clients. And I'm sure, nowadays, she is the one who brings the sunshine to whoever she talks to every day, Number two, I learned is, even though we didn't see too many things happening, but if we follow the process, follow what we're taught, and success will come.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, I don't know if you really get what's going on here, but she did 65 deals twice. A lot of people don't do 65 deals ever. And she went into one market, did 65 deals, and just to prove she could do it, she went into another market, 1,500 miles away, and ka-ching, did it again. I was kind of hoping that she'd come another 1,500 miles and do it in our market too. What the hell, Always recruiting, right?
You tried.
Always be closing. That's my job, man. That's my job. Always be closing. Good. What else did we learn today? What else did we learn? Go ahead, Jamala. Is it Jamala?
It's Jamila. Let me know if you
Jamila.
can hear me.
I can. Go ahead. Absolutely.
Rebecca's my coach, so it just, I hear this all the time, but it just hit a bit different this time. But just being all in, just questioning yourself, like, am I truly all in? A lot of us say that we are, but our actions show that we're not. So just being all in.
That's great. That's a great thought. Thank you. Good. You have a great coach. Okay, what else did we learn today? What
I think,
else?
Neil,
Go ahead,
I think
James.
that she put that, I'm not sure it's a central inference, and put the data, it's a target every weekly have a 30 database. I think that's can work out a lot of information, like clients. That's a 30 database per weekly. That's very great. That's wonderful.
Yeah, good. Okay, what else did we learn today? Go ahead, Abigail.
You know, the one thing that as I was paying attention, one thing that I kept thinking of is make a decision, take the plunge, never look back. I think the biggest challenge that I have is trusting the process. Every time that I think I'm doing well, I kind of revert. I'm afraid, and I revert back to my old ways. And just to remember that time takes time. It's going to take me some time, and I have to just go back to trusting the process and making those phone calls. I'm just so, I don't know why I revert back to that. I don't know what causes me. Maybe the fear of success causes me to stop, right?
Well, whatever it is, but it's like, I mean, those are all the things, but I mean, she says it better than I can say it, and she's lived it. It's just doesn't matter. Trust the process. And I would say that you have difficulty sometimes trusting the process.
Yes.
Okay. I think that you do. And you're not the only one. I mean, there's a lot of people have issues with trusting the process. I think that's one of my superpowers is I really do trust the process. I know that if I do this many times, I'm going to get results. Sometimes it's going to be a little longer. Sometimes it's going to be a little shorter, but every time I do it, I get the results. And the difference today, remember, I come from the old school. When Mike was talking about this 45 years ago, and he said, look, if you do this and you do this and you do this over this period of time, you're going to be able to do 30, 40, 50, 100 transactions. Well, there was nobody doing those kinds of numbers 45 years ago. No one. You guys today have it easy because to the right of you, to the left of you, above you and below you, there are people doing that kind of business. You can reach out and touch them. I've brought you 38 of them over the last, since March 16th, since March 17th. 38 different examples of people, agents, making in excess of $1 million a year. Almost every single one of them making in excess of $1 million a year, selling houses this way, trusting the process. So my suggestion today is trust. Trust us, trust us. Okay, what else did we learn? Then we're gonna wrap it up. Mike, Robert.
Neil, this is
Yes.
I think what it is she was very smart that she had all people, she surrounded herself for people supporting her. And what you said, she believed in the process, and she's very coachable too.
She's very coachable, which is interesting because she's really an expressive.
Yeah.
I said, give me the Reader's Digest version and kind of sat back. Anybody? Nobody got that. Okay. Robert gets it. Good job. Robert, what would you like to share?
Well, a couple things. She said, what's the worst that could happen? They can't hurt you, but they can make you a lot of money. And so often I don't want to call them. I as a coach, I get this all the time. Do you think, I don't know, should I call them again? Should I follow up again? Should I text them? Should I email? And I'm like, yes, more, because we're always like, fearful of what could happen. They can't hurt you, but they can make you a lot of money. You know, so I thought that was a really good point. And the other thing, Neil, this is the same thing from Lisa Ray, is you talk about all the time, Mike has mentioned that if you really learn the skills, it doesn't matter what market you're in. Lisa Ray moved across the country and instantly became a top producer using those skills. She was in South Carolina, moved to Texas, no database, nothing like that, but had the skills. And here she is 2 years into Texas, and she's already got 63 closed and pending. It's you've got to learn the skills, and it will take you wherever you want to go in any marketplace.
You know, it's really interesting you bring that up. This was an aha, I just got it from what you were saying. It's not uncommon for it's kind of a human nature thing to look at other successful people in your marketplace, especially if they've been doing this for a decent period of time, to look at them and say, they get business because they're cute, or they get business because their husband owns the car dealer, or they get business because of this, or they get business because of that, okay? Or they've been in that farm and they've just door knocked it for this period of time. And you mentioned 2 people, and then there's probably 100, we sat down and wrote it out, that it's all about the skills. Because when you know what to say and how to say it, you can do that anywhere in the country. You know, Mike used to say this all the time. You can fly over the country, drop him anywhere, and give him a couple weeks to learn the market, and he will beat you like a drum. Interesting. I feel very similar because I have the skills, and I know that as long as I can get up tomorrow and do my job because I know what to say and how to say it at a decently high level, I'm going to be okay. This is where you tend to get a little bit of afraid, you guys, is that you still don't know the skills. I begged you, I have the tapes, on the 17th of March forward, to take the opportunity of this COVID thing and to finally, once and for all, memorize the scripts and the dialogues. Once and for all, capture your database. Once and for all, do what you're supposed to do, because we're going to come out of this on the other end, and we're going to come out of it roaring. And here's what's interesting. The agents that have the skills are never slowed down during COVID and are coming out of this roaring into 2021. There's still time, but you have to finally today learn the scripts and dialogues, memorize them. Finally today, take control of your database. Finally today, do what you're supposed to do. I wrote down 2 things she said. Are you doing, these are questions that were asked of her by Bernie, I think. Are you doing everything you're supposed to be doing? Are you doing everything you're supposed to be doing? If the answer is yes, then remember that it takes time and you have to trust the process. But without the first part, the second isn't possible. What are the pieces you're missing? Find them, plug them in. We'll help you if you need it, and help you get to the next level. That's it. I'm going to step off my soapbox.